You see, if you look at the human body, it's not just missing fossils that we're missing in the missing link. There's more. Our genetic makeup is different, and there's something really interesting here, George. I don't want to sort of go too long on it, but our skin is thinner, our bones are thinner, our eyes don't see at night, our eyes are affected by UV light in a world that we're supposed to evolve, and we don't have competition in the environment. But the really interesting thing is human reproduction. Now, with human reproduction, with all other life around us, it reproduces in line with seasons. In the desert, it might be when it rains. But our reproductive system aligns with the moon. Now, you think about it. Inside the Earth, there is only one movement inside the Earth, and that's the tides created by the moon. So all of life inside the Earth would have ticked along in rhythm with the rotating lunar month.
Explain.
That's why we have a 28-day cycle. All of humanity has this. It came from the inner Earth.
Explain the theory of fallen angels. Then, how does that apply?
I'm not familiar with that theory, the fallen angels, so I can't really say much about it. But
from Genesis, right? They came down. They bred with daughters of man.
Oh yes, that's Noah. Yes. What actually happened there was what the race was. The race of Adam and Eve was put out on the outer surface, and what happened was there was a further perfecting required to produce the race of Noah, and that's when they took daughters of man and married them and produced another race which was a little bit more advanced than the race on the outer surface. It seems as though they had some difficulty getting a combination of intelligence and compatibility with the environment. This is what seems to be the problem. And so there was this modification all the time. You see, Eve was a race, Adam was a race. Eve took the apple off the tree of knowledge. That's because Eve was more... Now, the ladies will love this. Eve was more intelligent than Adam. And they put Eve with Adam to produce a race that was more suited for both worlds, inside and out. The funny thing is, George, we could probably live in the inside world, but they could not live out here.
They could not live out here. Interesting.
No, not without protection. Not without quite a lot of protection. And when you consider the description that's given to UFO beings, they're white-skinned, they're transparent almost, their skin, so they've got no pigment, they've got no fur, they've got thin limbs, so their bones are fragile. So
big eyes.
Large eyes. Whether that's because of the low light, I don't know. I'm not versed in that area. It might be sort of controversial at that particular point. But really, do you know another interesting thing I thought of the other day, George? I hadn't even discussed this with Matthew, and this is not actually in the book. We have hair on top of our head. Is that to protect us from the sun overhead in the inner Earth?
I think so. It may be.
There you are.
Or to keep us warm in the winter.
What keeps the brains well. But what actually happens with the Land of No Horizon with our book is we tie all this thing together, and it's all a huge network, and everything fits. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. The jigsaw puzzle we currently have doesn't work, but this all fits, and everything fits with everything else. The dinosaurs, the Great Flood, the Bermuda Triangle, the origins of humanity, the UFOs. It all fits together, and that's. And we say, don't believe us, read the book and see it for yourself.
Does the hollow Earth have any effect on the magnetic field on this planet?
There's obviously a magnetic field generated by the central sun itself, but of course there is also magnetism from actually the material making up the shell of the Earth as well. And there's an island called Magnetic Island, and that's because the compasses were actually drawn to it slightly. So in effect, the magnetism that we receive is actually somewhat buffeted by the shell of the Earth and changed in a way as well. So definitely, that is definitely the case.
Okay, let's explain to us now, if you could, what you think the cities or their environment, their habitat, what it might look like now.
If we look at ancient cities that we can't explain, and pyramids and different things that were built with a power that we don't have today, this would be a reflection of probably what we'd see inside the Earth. You know, we build buildings to last 20 years. They would probably build them to last 20,000 years. So I'd imagine that the buildings would be in tune with the environment, long-lasting. It's purely guesswork.
I understand.
Yes, but I suppose if we apply logic to it, they would want things to be permanent, not things to be temporary. We tend to build things a little bit temporary on the outer Earth.
But do you think they have skyscrapers and things like that?
I'm sure they would. And another thing too, George, I think they're not just above the ground. If they've gone through the planetary wall, the planetary shell, they would have huge cities inside the planetary shell. Think of the mining and resources that would be inside the wall of this planet.
But not only that as well, inside the shell you would be weightless. So it's a very economical place to be doing mining and things like that, because without the burden of gravity, you can do a lot of work with minimal effort.
And that's where you also believe these UFOs have been coming from?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's the most logical explanation. We tend to feel that we tend to believe, that UFOs are from outer space. The reason for that is, where else could they be coming from? But now, with our book and with this theory, we're giving you a better alternative, because locations in outer space where other life may be are just too far away. Although, there again, it could be in Mars.
Well, in that case, though, there could be an opening, a portal in Puerto Rico, because there have been a lot of people saying that they see UFOs going in and out of, areas in the mountainside or going into the sea and they disappear.
I would assume that it'd be quite difficult to put a tunnel through to the inside, and so I would assume that, I'm not sure how many there would be, but when there are tunnels through, that's going to be the main port of call to go through. And so when you see areas where there's a lot of UFO activity, then I would assume that that's probably near one of those areas, which is quite possible.
Do you believe that the oceans connect back to back from the surface to the hollow Earth?
Through where the ocean was released through the Great Flood, they do meet with one another, but there are sediments in between, like loose packed sediments in between. How big these are, we don't know, but they could be, quite 100 kilometers across or 50 kilometers across or something like that, because of the amount of water that has gone through. And then the main thing is when the water returned from the flood back to the inner Earth, then it would have taken all the sediment with it, and this would have eroded the channels away.
Do you both remember the movie, an old one, called Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. And the portal, the opening to the center, was through a mountainside. It's possible, I assume, that we may have openings like that?
I definitely think there are lots and lots of openings. There may be a situation whereby we can't actually see their craft. With technology, could you imagine if a craft could be the vision goes through it by using special cameras and screens or something, a craft could pass in front of something, but you see what's on the other side of it, projected on the side of it, sort of thing, so it disappears. I believe there's a lot more traffic than we really know, and I think their technology is advancing all the time. So I'd be surprised if there aren't thousands of areas where openings exist to the inner world. But the point about it for humanity, I think, is there will be a time in the future where we meet them face to face and the two worlds actually link and become one. That's what we believe. That's what we say in our book in the chapter Future Unity, that this is where we are going, and this will be a better future for all of humanity.
They may be responsible for crop formations. What do you think?
Insufficient evidence.
Okay.
Sorry, Matthew.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be back with both of you in just a moment. We're going to talk about the possibilities of what's going on Mars and the similarities here. I'm George Norrie, and this is Coast to Coast AM. And at the top of the hour, we'll take your phone calls. But when we come right back, we'll talk a little bit about Mars and the hollow Earth theory, right here on Coast to Coast AM. Kevin and Matthew, you touched on it a little bit an hour ago. Let's talk about the tie-in between Mars and this planet, the similarities, if you would.
Yes. Well, because the Earth and